Welcome back, everybody. Another edition of the Career and Mission Growth Podcast. I'm excited to bring my guest on today. She's built a career helping sales leaders, teams, organizations worldwide get results. So something to pay attention to if you're in any front office role. So if you have any customer engagement, you have any relationship building, this is the podcast for you. So let's talk more about up to date. So 20 plus years helping sales organizations, but she's the CEO and founder of an organization called Soul of Success. And the reason we're talking today is because she's got a brand new product coming out called Career Excellerator, which we're going to talk about here. And that is solely intended to help you build the relationships you're going to need to get results from the investments you make into your sales processes, or just your whole approach to how you market and sell out there. I am super excited to welcome Mim Abbey. Mim, how are you today?
Hi, James. I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you today?
I'm very good. Well, we met, I'm trying to think where we met. We met a few months ago and we've been talking ever since. And it was at a conference. We were having a couple of good laughs there, spending the day, meeting with other people in our industry who are kind of coaches, consultants, speakers, authors, teacher trainers. I like to use the word guides. We like to step in the role of guide and just pay it forward. And I saw you definitely as one of those people. And this podcast is all about that. So pleasure to meet you. And I've been excited to get to know you more. Let me jump in, ask you a question, and get things going here.
You bet.
So tell us a little bit more about what led you to the point. So just maybe give us, over the last 12 months, you've been building to this release. We're going to talk about Career Accelerator today. What's been going on in that 12-month period to ramp you up to this point? Tell us a little bit about your environment, the background, and things so people get a connection of where you've come from.
Oh, absolutely. Gosh, James, thank you so much for that. And yeah, you mentioned my background coaching in sales, and my background is coaching people throughout organizations to help them be more successful in what they do and move to the next level. And I've done that internally for so many years. And that includes sales teams. It includes leadership teams. It includes software teams. It includes legal teams. So it's really across the gamut. But you'd mentioned that background in sales. And what I found is that, and my background in leadership coaching, what I found is that if you really want to grow in your career, you've got to sell and you've got to lead. You've got to lead yourself, and then you got to demonstrate that you can lead others and you can lead new ideas, you can lead improvements. And so the last 12 months have been so exciting for me because I've been having really the time of my life pulling together the content that I have used for so long, helping people internally in organizations, and now fashioning a product for people, a coaching product for people, but a program for people to help them to, whether their company is sponsoring it or not, but to help them to, if they just say, I got to find something myself because it's not happening for me inside my company, and I want to grow inside my company, but I need some help. So usually I go in and I help the whole company and I help people in the company. But this is now me saying, hey, if you are someone who you're not growing your company as fast as you want, then I can help you with that, because I've done it with companies, people in companies all over the world. And so it's just been so exciting over the last 12 months, putting together something that is directly then for an individual who wants to grow inside that company.
I love that. And I wish people have been hearing our preamble, because now you've told me you set an intention and now you're taking action on that. But what you're talking about is those individuals. And that's my story of being inside an organization, multiple organizations, where there was leadership training. And they probably won't thank me for saying this. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
If I wanted great leadership training, I probably would have needed to go to a different organization. And I always hold somebody like a Charles Schwab up as an organization that invests in leadership. The problem with most of the organizations I work with, it was a kind of afterthought. The HR team got together with the leaders and said, shouldn't we come up with some succession planning and build some networks internally and have some, quarterly events where we could get our leaders together and they could talk about what it takes to make a great leader. And then other organizations that might have you go through one 3-day event, and that was your leadership training.
Yeah, exactly.
And now I'm working with clients. I'm like, how are these clients in the position they're in, and then coming to me and saying, yeah, you tell me things I don't hear at all inside my organization.
Exactly.
And so thank you for that. So tell us a little bit more.
Yeah.
Let's dive in on this, because one thing people are going to go say, well, that's all great and anything, but what's different? What's the benefit and the result these folks are going to get when they go through your program?
Yeah, well, ultimately, this program that I built is specifically for people who feel like I'm ready to move to the next level, and it's not happening. I got passed up. I put myself out there for a promotion. I didn't get the promotion, and so it's really, really specifically for. I don't necessarily want to leave my company. You certainly could. There's options out there, but what if you really like where you are? And what if you really want to grow in this, either in your direct chain or somewhere else in your organization, but you want to stay there. So how do you do that? And James, you are so right. Most large companies have training programs, have internal universities, whatever they call it. And if I had a dime for every time I've heard people say, and I'm sure you've had this too, it's not great. They'll come to a workshop of mine and I'm humbled and gratified to hear, what was the best one I've ever been to? And, you start to hear that over and over, and, it's, even if they do offer something internally, it's not necessarily what's going to get you there. And people make that mistake of thinking that my boss is going to get me there. You know what? Your boss has a bottom line they're trying to be. They've got a budget they're trying to meet. I mean, you getting a promotion stresses their budget. So they've got a whole management chain they're trying to please. Your promotion is not forefront in their mind. And so that's one of the biggest things is you gotta work with people who've got you as their number one. And then you've got to get the world-class skills. It's one of the big errors and mistakes people make out there, or myths out there, is that it just takes experience. No, you just got to get more experience, And by the time you get all the experience you need, you're going to be dead, because
that's what they told me. They said, James, James, you're talented, but you just need more experience.
Exactly.
What are you talking about? Yeah. What am I going to get that?
Yeah.
So you've touched on a few things today. One of the things you talked about the mistakes people make. Yeah. And then, we don't mean to bash organizations. So if you're watching this and you love your organization, you're an HR professional, and you think we're talking out of school, come on, have a conversation with us. We'll talk a little bit about your leadership program, and maybe that's something that we can go forward to. But I don't want to talk about mistakes, because there's people watching this up until this point. If they watch the first minute, they're going to watch the whole lot. Yeah. Those people who are still with us, I want to talk a little bit about what are the mistakes that you're seeing people are making as they think about their promotions, as they think about asking for pay raises, as they think about their career climbing. What are you seeing over and over again? And then I want that to connect to the people watching, so then we can give them a little bit of an action plan. What are the things that we can get them to do today moving forward? So tell us that. What kind of mistakes are you seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's one of the biggest ones is, it just takes more experience. So James, you had asked, what are they going to get? What are the outcomes that I'll just go back to that earlier question, is skill. It's really not experience. It's really skill. There's certain skills that you need in order to get promoted. So that's one of the biggest errors, is it's just, I have to get more experience. Got it. Big mistake. Another one is, I just have to work really hard to be the best at what I do. And so I double, triple, quadruple down on my technical expertise. And now your technical expertise is really important, especially if you are especially technical in what you do. But that is not the thing that's going to get you promoted. So doubling down on your expertise, doubling down on being the best in your expertise as the ticket to promotion, that's a mistake. The other mistakes are, it'll just happen. Or I'll get noticed. All my good work is, like, for some people, here's a little nuance. For some people is, I'm working really hard, it will get noticed. they're noticing the business. They have so much, your leaders have so much that they need to notice. They're not necessarily noticing your hard work. And then the other nuance there is I hear manage, I put together this program with my years of observation, and plus all the leaders that I work with, and I do mean all over the world. I've traveled the world working with the world's top companies, and I talk with leaders about what is it that you promote, what is it that you lead, and one of the that causes you to raise someone up. And one of the errors that I hear, one of the things I hear from managers is, we get to review time and they get bent out of shape that they didn't get promoted. And I say, but you never told me. You never, like, I didn't know that was something that you were gunning for. And they've told me that some of these, and now I'm thinking specifically about a large media company I work with in their finance division. And a lot of their people in their corporate finance division came from the big accounting firms. And they said there's this a thing in the big accounting firms where there's kind of every couple of years you just automatically go to the next level. And there's mostly in business, there's nothing like that. There's no automatic anything. So just assuming it's going to happen, assuming they got your best interest at heart, meaning your promotion is the top thing in their mind. So many mistakes, James.
Yeah. Well, these are vital things. I'm connecting with all of these. Yes. I've even been having conversations with people recently who telling me it is review season right now as we come into the end of the year. People who are on January calendars are having their review season. Exactly. And they're giving me the feedback that, this is going to be a tough review season for me. And I ask why. And they say, well, I've got a team of 12 and 4 of those people are going to be very unhappy.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you mean they're going to be very unhappy? Well, they're not going to get pay raises and they're not getting promotions. I said, well, why is that an issue? Well, my prior manager told me they were due. And I said, does that mean the prior manager told them they were due? And she said, yeah. And now I have the issue. I don't think they're due. So we now have this miscommunication going on where I've got to understand a little bit about, and the organizations are working with, job leveling and comparing market rate and comparing what's going on with other individuals who operate at the same level. Yeah. I'm not necessarily in agreement with any of that because I think that is performance appraisal and I think we should throw that away. I'd love us to move to performance management and that would be a much better thing. Yeah. But I see the things you're talking about all the time. So let's quickly swiftly move across to solutions. What are the things that, let's stay on this company, maybe on the theme of you're working for a media company, working with financial executives. What are the things that you're saying in there that are going to be vital for somebody who's watching this right now is, give me something tangible, something I can do right now that's going to get me promoted or get me my next pay raise. What am I going to do now? Tell me that. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that comes up is if you're, we're really talking about merit and merit going beyond just doing my job. And it's really important to do your job, but just to remember, if you can think about yourself like an owner and not a renter, if you can think about yourself as I own this part of the company, like I'm not just sort of coming and renting and leasing and being here during the day and then I leave and it's not mine. This chunk of the company is mine to run. And so I have a responsibility to run it like an owner. And owners don't just react. Owners proactively, like if you, I mean, this is actually when the lights went on for me was years ago when I was taking a walk with my brother. He was walking the dog and I was visiting him and his family and staying with them. And we were walking down the block and really cute homes and the white picket fence and the flowers. And there's such a sweet little neighborhood. And we get to the corner, it's an eyesore. It's awful. There's paint peeling, there's scrubby weeds and dirt on the, out front and like as a lawn, not really a lawn. And I think there was like a big home appliance, like a stove or something, an old rusted, it was awful. And it was so shocking. And I said to him as the contrast, and I said, what is up with this house? And he said, oh, it's a rental. It's a
Yeah.
rental. When you rent something, you don't take the best care of it. You don't anticipate, oh, they're saying it's going to be a particularly rainy season. I need to, patch up some, I need to
Okay. So
proactively.
I'm getting, yeah, I get the message. So now what's tangible? So I love what you said at the beginning of that, which is promotions and pay raises come on merit, which is, I like to use the word transcendence. Are you transcending the role you're already in? And also, I'd love you to think about transcending your boss, your manager, whoever you work for. Have you not, why are you submissive or subversive to that? Why aren't you thinking about, how do I transcend this? What's the things I'm going to do over and above? And you said, yeah, merit beyond your own role description, beyond your own fiefdom, what you're in control of. Tell us that. What is the good one or two demonstrable actions that somebody could take to get that?
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, I would say it's time to take initiative and it's time to innovate. And it's time to look at what am I doing every day and how could it be done better? How could it be done faster? What's in my chain of what I do that I look at the process and I say, you know what, this thing doesn't even need to be done because it's partially redundant with this thing over here. In other words, look for ways to just make the whole place better. And when you look at this part that you own, then make it bigger. I mean, take a responsibility for, okay, what is my boss? What is, like you say, transcend, even maybe transcend your boss. Think about not just what is my boss worried about? What is my boss's boss worried about? Like, get inside their head. And if you haven't asked in your next skip level, why don't you ask them? And if you don't have skip levels, meaning have a regular meeting with your boss's boss, then see if you can initiate that. And at least start with your boss. And if not your boss's boss, hey, what are you working on? What are you worried about? How can I help? How can I support you? And then let the wheels turn, whether it's something just in your domain, whether it's something that you thought about, what you are thinking about, what they're worried about, is come up with, how can it be done better? How can it be done faster? How can it be done smarter? And therefore now you have a hand in driving, leading.
Yeah, and I think if for those watching, if you take that to heart, I think about business is just the language of $2 back for $1 spent. And so if you're doing things better, you're growing revenue or you're saving money. You've got to do one of those things. That's how you stay in business. Grow the revenue and keep saving, keep making the opportunity to what are the percentage incremental improvements?
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned something vital there. And this is where I get a lot of pushback from people in their careers who say, our company thinks they have a very open door, everybody can talk to everybody policy, but we've become the most hierarchical militant operation. And I'm not saying hierarchies are bad, but I am saying employees are saying to me, I'm not allowed to talk to my boss's boss without my boss knowing.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed, couldn't possibly knock on the CEO door's office, speak to his executive or her executive assistant, excuse me, everybody, and book a meeting.
Yeah.
And so what advice do you have for those people who, for transcendence, we really do need to know the key decision makers in the organization, what they're challenged with, because if we don't know their problems, it's going to be very difficult for us to demonstrate that merit. So what do you think, what advice would you give to somebody who's saying, I'm not allowed to do that in my company?
Yeah. Yeah. So the first thing is, it's true. It's true that your boss is your first line of everything. They are your ticket to everything. So door number one is do what James and I were just talking about. Do it. If you haven't done it with your boss, do it with your boss. In other words, don't just be the good soldier that says, okay, I'm going to get into the battle. Is go back, I'll stop the military analogies there, but go back to your boss and say, hey, yep, I'm working on this. And hey, if we've got a few extra minutes, I'd love to hear what are you working on? What are you challenged with? How can I support you? Like, make sure absolutely that you're doing that with your boss, so that your boss, because you do that, and then it's like the frost warms up and things get really good and warm between you and your boss. Once you're there, don't even ask if you're not there with your boss. Once you are there with your boss, give it a little time. And once you are there with your boss, then you're going to make a case. I would go directly through your boss and I would make a case for why it's in your boss's best interest for you to also be talking with their boss. So that is the warm route to go. And you start with, I mean, it's the relationship route. You know, people say, James, you asked before, what are some of the biggest mistakes? One of them is, I know somebody who says it's all politics, it's all politics. And you can hear their disappointment and jadedness speaking when they say it's all politics. I'm not going to say it's not politics. What I'll do is I'll switch it and I'll say it is relationships. It is relationships, and you can form relationships. And so start with your boss, warm things up with your boss by showing interest, attentiveness, support for them. And then ultimately, you just got to get your mind around, why would it be in your boss's best interest? Why would it be something that they would say, well, that's a good idea, if you give them a good enough why? That's and not a why that is, I'm trying to go around you, but a why of, hey, to open, you know, what some of those whys could be, to be sure that we've got open communication, to be sure that I'm supporting you and the whole line of da 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 da. I want to, and make sure that they know that when you talk with your boss's boss, that you're going to make your boss look good. That's why you got to start with your boss, so that they get that you've got their back.
Okay, we're going to go one level deeper, only because I'm hearing this all the time, and you said it about the politics and how that makes people feel, and they become jaded and exhausted. But actually, you know, there is fear there. Fear of, if I speak up, I'm now going to be putting a target on my back. I'm not even a big phrase of that. It makes it sound like, that just sounds like a terrible phrase. You know,
That's terrible.
If you had a target on your back, what would actually happen? Somebody would probably shoot at it. But my point is, I think people are fearful of even having the conversation.
Yeah.
So as we talk about relationships, which I think is a wonderful way of thinking about how do you change this, because I like to see people, what alternative strategies have you come up with?
Yeah.
And have you tried them? Have you actually done the action and had a conversation with this person who already said no to you, and just approached it differently?
Yeah.
Because there is another way. You just didn't get to the need that they have yet. And when you get to the need, you can get past it.
Yeah.
But for this fear point I'm talking about, what would be your advice there? How does somebody get past the fear of, yeah, you don't understand, Mim. You don't understand, James. Our organization, if you speak up like you're asking us to, we're going to get let go. So what do we say about that?
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking up directly to your boss, you're talking about? Yeah.
Whoever, actually. I mean, I think any superior, there's this belief that if we talk up to the superior in the wrong environment, certainly if it's public, then we are now the ones who are going to be demerited.
Yeah. 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 Well, sometimes you need to lead someone along the path. And so rather than just say, I want to have this conversation, and now it feels out of the blue, like, what is she talking about? And what's wrong with her? What's wrong with this? Is like, something's wrong with this, is to lead them very gently. And what I mean by that is to, in your next one-on-one with your boss, or if you say, I don't have one-on-ones with my boss, then it's time to initiate a one-on-one. And so what would it be? In my next hallway conversation with my boss, then it would be, hey, I realize. And so what you would do is you would take them from wherever we are right now, and you would say, hey, I realize, you know, I know that we have these, if it's just hallway conversations with your boss, let me just start there. I realize we're having these hallway conversations, and I'm realizing how valuable they are to me, and how they're helping me to do this better and to perform better in this way. And it strikes me, what I would really like to initiate with your, run this by you, as I'd love to have a regular weekly sit down with you. Let's say that's it. And again, it's all about the why. It's all about the why. James, you just used the term, the deeper need, and the why is something, and everybody think about this. Don't think about the why as why because it's not fair that I'm not getting it. Why? It's because I feel cut off. Stop with your whys and go to their whys. Why is it going to be meaningful for them? And therefore, they're not going to be freaked out by what you're bringing, because you're just bringing them from where we are now. Ooh, how good it is. Ooh, and how it could be better.
Wow. I love that. Stop your whys and focus on them. Yeah. It's don't you become interesting. Be interested in other people. Yeah. I really like that. Okay. So we're going to shift gears here. I want to come back to your program, because I don't want people to miss the opportunity to capture the opportunity to join. And we'll talk about that just before we close. But what's the inspiration for this then? So what do you believe every career executive shouldn't have to go through?
Oh, I don't think you should have to, we're burning daylight here, people. And I don't think you should have to go through all the stubbing your toes and wasted time of trying to find the trying to take the old route, which takes more time and more experience, trying to like, oh, it's all the politics, and so maybe I'm just not, like, you could waste years. I don't want you to waste years, because when you waste years, you waste love and money. And what I mean is you're stuck somewhere you don't love because you're not growing, and you waste a lot of money that you're burning the power of compound interest by not putting more money in the bank because you didn't get the promotion, and therefore you can't support your kids educationally like you wanted to.
Yeah, there's a wonderful singer called Jack Johnson who has a song called "Sitting, Waiting, Wishing." Now that song's likely not about what we're talking about, but the theme of those three words is, having a wish for your career isn't a good strategy. Hoping that things will get better in time is not a good strategy. And Mim's confirming that with you. And it's my experience, it's her experience. We've worked 20 plus years, both of us combined careers, 50 years plus, able to share with you. I know hope does not work.
Yeah.
And Mim sharing that with you now. So that's great. Now, you talked about your brother and his dog. I would love to give those two people for a friend. So what's your brother's name and what was the dog's name?
Oh, Russell and Humphrey.
Russell and Humphrey. Okay,
yeah,
so
Russell was the brother. Humphrey was
yeah. That's a key distinction for my next question.
That's right.
If I ask you what Humphrey thought you did, that's not going to be much fun. But I want to ask you the fun question of, what does Russell think you do? Does he know, or does he have an appreciation? What does Russell think you do?
He knows that I help people, and he knows that I help people. Something around success.
Something around success. Okay, so there's a homework exercise for you, Mim, but also for everybody watching.
Yeah.
If your closest family do not know what you do, you either aren't spending enough time with them, and that might be because you don't want to. That's okay too.
Yeah.
But if you want some cheerleaders, it would be good to let them know what you're up to.
Yeah.
And then they can cheer you on, and they can also put good words in the right places for you in other places. That just helps you with your personal brand. Some of the things we haven't touched on today that are probably vital in your ability to get promoted and have pay rises. Let's focus on you again, Mim, because I want people to see more inside of you. Let's talk a little bit about your role models, and perhaps maybe one or two people who you aspire to, or you've seen them to be true leaders in this space. What are the people, if you're going to go and have dinner with two people who you say would be, valuable for people to kind of learn from, as well as come and join your program, who would they be?
Oh, I would say, well, somebody that I've learned a lot from has been in the entrepreneur space, has been Brendan Burchard. I'd love to have him along. He has, and the reason is that he's got, he comes from Accenture. So he comes from the, the inside world, which is what we're talking about, and growing in your career. So he knows that world. And he's got as opposed to, it's never going to happen because of this. You don't understand because this, it's like, he's where there's a will, there's a way guy. And so that's one person. Beautiful. That's one person.
Who else? Is there somebody else, perhaps a female, that we can attach some aspiration to? Somebody, a role model that you follow who's a female?
You know what? This is someone who's just I'm going to say my first corporate boss. So Lynn.
Let's name her. Lynn. Can we give her a last name? She's not going to mind. She loves this.
Yes,
Lynn. What's Lynn's last name?
Lynn Cage.
Lynn Cage. Thank you very much for what you did for Mim. That's really impressive that she just named you. How old were you then? You don't have to tell us how old you are now, but how old were you then?
Oh, my first corporate job. I started at 22. So
imagine that, having somebody in your life who made that impact.
Yeah.
So for everybody watching, everyone needs to be a Lynn Cage. Everyone needs a Lynn Cage in their life. And let Mim Abbey be that person for you, because if she worked with Lynn, don't you think she's got a few lessons for you? So let's close on that. I want to know, maybe, we talked before we came on in there, and I wish people got to see the preamble to some of these shows, because we talk about some good stuff. You were telling me that, the ultimate benefit, the ultimate results of somebody going through this program is really about them not just being good, but being great.
Yeah.
Not just being mindful or aware of the things they need to do, but actually executing with excellence. You said that to me. And the last thing you said was, one of the big things of having a coach in your corner and a cheerleader is you just go faster.
Oh,
Just move faster.
so much faster.
So
Yeah.
now I want people to go and get that, because those three benefits I think were really powerful. So where do they come and find you so they can get this? Or is there a link that's open right now that we can give them? If not, don't worry, we can put it in the show notes later. But where does somebody get this Career Accelerator program for them?
Oh, that's so great. Thank you so much, James. Yeah, I mean, it's so true. You want to turn years into weeks where you can get the skills to specifically get promoted. The Career Accelerator is to help you get promoted. It's a little hard to spell. So it is the careeraccelerator.com, but the spelling is and then accelerator is EXCELLERATOR. And the reason it's spelled that way, because it is about excelling, going far, doing it with excellence, doing it well, and accelerating it. So doing it faster. You can DM me, Mim Abbey, MIMABBEY, across all platforms. So feel free to DM me there.
And if you've watched this right now, look underneath here in the show notes. If you're on YouTube, it's down underneath. If you're on other platforms, there is a link to take you back into the YouTube channel, or you can go to my blog at careermissiongrowth.com and you will see the video there in the blog for you can take a look at. The show notes will also be under there with links. So wherever you're watching this, the link is underneath the video. I think that's what I just said. All right, we're going to wave goodbye. I'm going to have a quick chat with Mim. We're going to talk about our day, but we wish you a fantastic day. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.